All right, let's investigate a mystery that has captivated the world for over 100 years, the mind of Sherlock Holmes. We're going to uncover what makes the world's most famous detective a true, undisputed legend. Now, this isn't just some clever catchphrase. This is the key. It's the key that unlocks everything about Sherlock Holmes. It's the simple, powerful idea from a character who taught all of us that logic, when you really stick to it, can light up the truth in even the darkest mysteries. And really, this is the big question, isn't it? I mean, think about it. We live in an age of DNA analysis and digital forensics. So why on earth is a Victorian detective with a magnifying glass and a pipe still such a huge deal? To get to the bottom of that, we've got a 5-part investigation lined up for you. First, we'll look at his timeless appeal. Then, we'll break down his famous science of deduction. After that, we'll meet the people in his world, map out a reading plan for the original stories, and finally, we'll trace his incredible legacy right into today. Okay, let's start with our first clue. What exactly makes this detective so timeless? What's the secret sauce here? You know, the real genius of Sherlock Holmes is this incredible clash of two worlds. He brings the cold, precise, orderly world of science into the messy, chaotic, and often brutal streets of Victorian London. It's that combination, pure logic meeting raw human nature, that makes these stories impossible to put down. And that unique mind of his is powered by a legendary method. It's the very engine that drives all his stories. So, it's time to explore the science of deduction. So how does his mind actually work? Well, it's not magic. It's a super disciplined 3-step process. First, he just observes. He collects facts without jumping to any conclusions. Next, he systematically gets rid of all the impossible scenarios, narrowing down what's left. And finally, he uses his massive, almost bizarre specialized knowledge. We're talking everything from 140 types of tobacco ash to the dirt in different parts of London to find the one single truth. And that is what made him a total game changer. You know, where the police back then saw random chaos, Holmes saw a puzzle with rules. He showed that if you just focus on the tiny details that everyone else ignores, the truth is always there waiting to be found. But Holmes didn't operate in a vacuum. His genius shines even brighter because of the world he lived in and the unforgettable characters he had around him. So let's meet his world and company. This relationship, this is the absolute heart of the stories. You can't have one without the other. Holmes is the brilliant analytical brain, but Dr. Watson? He's the loyal human heart. He's our stand-in, asking the questions we're all thinking, and grounding Holmes's cold logic in real friendship and morality. Without Watson, Holmes is just a fascinating machine. With him, he's a hero. And of course, every great hero needs an equally great villain. For Sherlock Holmes, that person is Professor Moriarty, his intellectual equal, and, as Holmes himself put it, the spider at the center of London's criminal web. So, these three are really the pillars of the Holmes universe. You've got Watson, the loyal friend telling the stories, Moriarty, the ultimate bad guy, and then there's Irene Adler, forever known to Holmes simply as the woman. She was only in one story, but man, did she leave a mark as the one person who ever truly outsmarted him. Okay, so if all this has you thinking, I gotta read these stories, you might look at the collection and feel a little overwhelmed. So let's map out a super simple path into the official canon. Yeah, the official canon, this stuff actually written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, is made up of 60 adventures, 4 novels, and 56 short stories. With that much to choose from, the big question is, where on earth do you begin? Here's a really easy 4-step approach. Start at the very beginning with a study in Scarlet to see how Holmes and Watson first meet. Then, you've got to dive into his most famous case, the Hound of the Baskervilles. After that, experience his dramatic comeback in The Return of Sherlock Holmes. And finally, check out the more complex and psychological stories from his later years in the Case book. Or, hey, maybe you just want to jump right into the greatest hits. If that's you, this list is perfect. Each one of these is a self-contained masterpiece. It's got his most famous novel, The Hound of the Baskervilles, and The Final Problem, which is where he has that legendary and supposedly fatal showdown with Professor Moriarty. All right, for our final section, let's pull the camera back and just appreciate the massive, massive cultural footprint this character has left behind. This is the enduring legacy of Sherlock Holmes. Just let this sink in for a second. More actors have portrayed Sherlock Holmes on screen than any other character in literature. Ever. That's more than Dracula, more than Frankenstein's monster, even more than James Bond. His reach is just absolutely unparalleled. I mean, Holmes basically invented the modern detective. Every brilliant but kind of difficult investigator you see on TV, whether they're in a hospital or a police station, owes a debt to him. His DNA is literally woven into pop culture, in countless movies and modern shows like Sherlock and Elementary. But who was the man behind the logic? The character is just full of these fascinating contradictions. He was a flawed genius who used cocaine to fight off boredom, a guy who seemed emotionally detached but valued his friendship with Watson more than anything, and a celebrated crime fighter who eventually found peace by retiring to the countryside to become a beekeeper. How about that? So in the end, Sherlock Holmes became way more than just a character in a book. He evolved into this powerful symbol. He represents the triumph of intellect over chaos. He embodies this deeply comforting idea that no matter how complex or frightening the world gets, a rational mind can always find the truth. Which leaves us with one final mystery. What was really driving Sherlock Holmes? Was he a passionate champion for justice? Or was he simply an addict, chasing the high of a complex puzzle? Well, there's only one way to figure that out for yourself. Pick up one of the stories because, as Holmes himself would say, the game is afoot.